Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, of course, and mops and pops, or if you prefer, grandmas and grandpas, and baseball fans everywhere, welcome to this edition of the Valley Baseball League podcast. Hello, everyone. My name is Graham Knight. I am here on behalf of the Valley Baseball League and all the teams in the league. We are trying to keep baseball kind of on the forefront and give you something to think about. While we can't provide games from the diamond this season, we are providing you the best of the Valley League. By the way, Joe Harmon had a nice joke I'm going to share with you. You know, we're all desperate for some kind of sports content. So Joe told me yesterday, he said, I'm looking out the window and I'm watching the birds fight over worms. He said, the score right now are the Blue Jays are 7 and the Cardinals are 4. Anyway, we can still laugh about it, right? Today I'm going to introduce you to a guy who's been in this league for 6 decades. He's the earliest player to ever, or the youngest player to ever play in this league, and you're going to meet him in a few minutes. Before I do that, I want to share with you kind of the magic that captured my heart. Let me set the stage. Back in 2009, I moved into this area. To be honest, I hated baseball. I really did. I liked it before they went on strike the first time. I was just starting to get into it when the pros went on strike the second time, and when they walked out the second time, I was done. That was it. People say I hold a grudge. That may be true. Anyway, fast forward to 2009. I move into the Winchester Royals, or the Winchester, sorry, it is the Winchester Royals area, but I move into Winchester, Virginia, and I hear this rumor that we have a kind of semi-pro team here somewhere, but I can't figure out where they play. I can't find the stadium, know nothing about it. Anyway, a couple years later, my son comes to me and says, hey, Dad, will you put me in a baseball camp because I'd like to learn to play baseball with my friends better. I get it. I'm a horrible baseball player, and I wish somebody had put me in a camp when I was young. Anyway, I signed him up. Turns out the Winchester Royals are having a baseball camp at that time, and finally, after 7 years in the area, I figure out where they're playing. And as soon as I see how they're running the camp, I've got to go watch them. I mean, it was amazing. I grew up playing hockey. It turns out the guy who taught me how to play hockey was actually played hockey with the guy who coached the 1980 Olympic team. That doesn't say I'm a great hockey player, but I'm a much better hockey player than I am a baseball player. Anyway, as soon as I saw the magic that was taking place at the Winchester Royals, I was addicted, absolutely addicted. I went out and produced a 6-part series I've shared over the last several podcasts, and that's what's been driving me ever since. The guy I'm going to introduce to you today, Bob Wease, is the coach of the Harrisonburg Turks. He played in the league. He is very proud of saying that he is in the Valley Baseball League Hall of Fame, not as a coach, but as a player. So now let me introduce you to Bob Wease. Bob sat down and had a conversation with Joe Harmon just the other day. I hope you enjoy it.
Hey, thanks for joining us again. I'm Joe Harmon for the Valley Baseball League, and thrilled to have one of the most acclaimed and illustrious members of the Valley Baseball League over the years with us right now. Please welcome Bob Wease. Bob, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So, Bob, just for those of us that don't know, how many years now have you been involved with the Valley Baseball League?
Since 1960, so however many years that is. I guess that's, what, 60 years? 60
Wow,
years.
60 years.
I played in 1960 and, stayed in the Valley League until 1969, and then I went to the County League and played for another 24 years.
You don't look old enough to be doing anything for 60 years, Bob.
Well, I'm 76 years old.
Don't get out of here.
Older than water.
So are you still the youngest person ever to play in the Valley League? Is that right?
I think so. Yes, I think I am. I think I'm the youngest guy to ever play in the Valley League.
And
I was also the youngest guy to ever play in the Rockingham County League. I played in that when I was 13 years old. Yes.
Wow. Great stuff. Great resume. And for the last number of decades now, you've been the manager, general manager, owner of the Harrisonburg Turks, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right.
How many years have you been doing that for the Turks?
Since 1990, so it would be 30 years.
That's quite amazing. I'm sure you have seen a lot of stuff that you never thought you'd see on a baseball field.
Oh, I tell you, we've had some tremendous ball players come through here.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. When you see kids come in here that struggle a little bit, and then 4 or 5 years later, they're in the big leagues. One of those was David Eckstein.
Right.
You know, came in here and played and ended up being the most valuable player in the 2005 World Series.
Yeah.
The hardest working player I've ever had.
He was
just
incredible.
Tremendous guy. Tremendous guy. In the big leagues, they called him just enough because he played shortstop in the big leagues and played second base for me when he played for me. He was here in 1995 and 1996. Tremendous guy. Tremendous guy.
Do you still stay in touch with him?
I talked to him about a month ago. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, when you check in with him, let him know we'd love to have him on our show sometime.
Okay. I was telling Graham I do have his phone number, and I have a lot of these guys' phone number. I have Juan Pierre's phone number. Juan Pierre will probably be in the Hall of Fame one day.
Yes.
I think up with 616 steals in the big leagues, and that's quite an honor for him. I mean, to have 616 stolen bases.
Bob, so with all the things that you've seen on and off the baseball field over years, did you ever expect you'd see a summer with no baseball in the Valley Baseball League?
No, I tell you, like I say, I've been involved with the Valley. I've been on a baseball field 66 years in a row, and that's including Little League and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I tell you, I really don't know what I'm going to do with myself this summer because it's going to be a new experience, but hopefully my wife and I will be able to go away on vacation. We haven't had a vacation since we've been married, and I know the Valley League did the right thing by counseling the Valley League because we cannot bring 350 boys in here and put them in with host families. Bruce Alger did the exact right thing.
Were you heartbroken or enheartened by the decision?
Well, I was disappointed because I think we had a good ball club coming. We've had good teams over the years. We've been ranked in top 5 in the country, several years. The last 2 years we've struggled a little bit, and we've played like 500 ball. But yes, I was really looking forward to this year. I'd worked hard, and I had a great roster coming. But yes, I'm disheartened. But I know we did the right thing.
Yeah. Now, when you look at that roster and the change in eligibility rules that the NCAA has announced, giving the players another year of eligibility, does that improve your outlook for 2021?
Well, I think it will. I think it'll improve everybody's outlook. You'll be able to bring these guys back that want to play, and you'll be able to pick up, the new players, and you should be able to put together a pretty good roster coming this year. Yes, it should help everyone.
Well, good. We're if there is any kind of a silver lining in this, it's that 2021 should have some great players out there on the field for the Valley League.
That's for sure.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Hey, just want to interrupt the conversation for a couple of small business items. First, want to encourage you all to subscribe, like, and share us. By subscribing to our YouTube channel, you'll help us do a couple of things. You'll help us keep you informed on when we post new material. And by liking and sharing us, you'll help us share some of the excitement that happens in the Valley League with people who may not know about it. I also want to take a few minutes to pay tribute to one of our great sponsors, Grace Burrows. Grace has sponsored our live streams for the past 2 years now. Without her, none of our live streams would have been possible. She's got a new book coming out at the end of April. Take a look. Thank you, Grace, for all you do. Now let's get back to the conversation.
So, what are some of the best memories you have of being in the Valley League as a coach in the last couple of decades? What are you mentioned David Eckstein and Juan Pierre and some of the greats that have come through your program in Harrisonburg. Any particular moments really stand out to you?
Well, can you see these pictures on the wall behind me? Okay, there's David Eckstein. We have him up here. We have Logan Kensing, Steve Finley, Travis Harper, Ryan Shealy, Mo Vaughn, Frank Menachino. We have all this stuff. I have a lot more in my house and at home. But, to sit around and look at these guys, when I look at David Eckstein, I see the most valuable player in the World Series. It makes you warm to know that you were a small, small part of his. No, Teresa, I didn't cry. I don't cry every time. Teresa's telling me to tell you all that I cry every time I look at him. I don't cry. No, I'm happy. When David won the most valuable player in the 2005 World Series, I called him, and he was in the dugout. And I said, David, where do I get the keys? He says, what are you talking about? I said, I want the keys to the Corvette. And he says, Bob, I just gave it to my brother Rick. He said, I couldn't drive a straight stick anyway.
What are you mentioned David Eckstein and Juan Pierre and some of the greats that have come through your program in Harrisonburg. Any particular moments really stand out to you?
Well, with David Eckstein and Juan Pierre both of them were really, really hard workers. Juan had trouble with his arm throwing, and over the summer he developed good arm strength, and he could run like a deer. He could put the ball in play, and like I say, he made it all the way to the big leagues, 616 steals. David Eckstein was the same kind of ball player. All he wanted to do was be on the baseball field every day and get better. And when you see those kids come in here and do that, especially kids that are just a little bit better than average ball players, but they want it. They got the desire and they want to go on. And then 4 or 5 years later, you see them and they're in the big leagues. And to know that you had just a small part with them going on, it makes you feel warm. It really does.
Yeah. When you're out there recruiting and you're watching players on the college level on the fields, do you get your eyes get caught more by the guy that's on the top 100 prospects list, or the one who's like, "Hey, coach, let me in. Coach, let me in. I got to play."
I like the guy who wants to play, who wants to be on the field every day, who knows he's maybe not quite as good as the other guy, but he knows if he works hard, he can get as good as the other guy. Those are my kind of players, and I love them. I love them to death.
Are you willing to share any names that you were excited about seeing this year?
Well, Brett Roberts, I was really impressed with him. He was a kid, a second baseman, shortstop, who was coming here. He ended up hitting, I think it was like 370 or 380 for the season. We had a kid coming from Oklahoma City by the name of Cross. His name was Cross. Cross Factor was his name. And he had hit like 13 home runs already. Left-handed hitter. Of course, I don't look for him to be back next year because he'll be draft eligible, and his coach has already told me the scouts are all over him. So we probably won't have him back.
And looking around the valley here in the Harrisonburg area and beyond, do you see any up and comers in high school or in JMU that you see might have a shot at being a Valley League player someday?
Well, we always get 2 or 3, 4 players from JMU, and I'll have probably the same 4 that I had coming this year back next year. We have Nick Zona and Burke and Kleinfelter and another pitcher that'll be here next year with us. So, it does look good for next year.
Any other plans for the summer?
Well, I guess I really don't know. I guess we'll go see my daughter in Beaufort, South Carolina. Haven't seen her in a while. Her husband's a jet fighter pilot, and he's a colonel in the Marines, and I'm really proud of him. So we'll go see him, and I'll go see my son who's in Richmond, and we'll do a little traveling this week. Go to Gettysburg, maybe Tombstone, Arizona, places like that. Just to get away.
Well, good.
I've had 2 teams in the Rockingham County League call me and want me to coach one of those teams in the county league, which is another league around here. But I don't think they're going to be able to play either. And I don't know. It's just in the back of my mind. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do that or if I'm just going to hang out and go places.
Yeah. Well, do you have any parting thoughts for the players that you won't be seeing this year, or the fans of the Harrisonburg Turk community that you'd like to get out there?
Well, the community, I thank all of them. We had already raised all of our money. We had sold like 90 banners, and everyone had paid me. And I have made calls to every one of them, and every one of them, with the exception of one, said for me just to hold on to the money and apply it to next year's. So that tells you what people in Harrisonburg think of the Harrisonburg Turks. They trust me, and they know that I'll do what I say when next year comes.
Well, there you have it. A 6-decade veteran speaking about the Valley League and some of the players who've come out of this league. Last night we brought you a conversation with Mike Bocock. Tonight we hope you enjoyed the conversation with Bob Wease. You're going to be hearing more from both of those coaches later on in this season as we try to bring you conversations between them and the professionals that played with them and have gone on to play in the majors. So that wraps it up for us tonight. On behalf of the Valley Baseball League and all the teams in this league, I want to wish you all perfect health and a speedy return to the baseball diamond. On behalf of the Valley Baseball League, I'm Graham Knight. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great night.